Hey there, I'm Jake, and I'm about to tell you about the scariest night of my life. It happened last year, during exam season at Westbrook High. Grab some popcorn and maybe a blanket to hide under, because things are about to get spooky. It all started when our school decided to keep the library open until midnight during exam week. They thought it would help us study more. Little did they know, it would lead to something terrifying. My house is pretty close to school, so I started going to the library every evening. It was quiet, calm, and perfect for studying. Or so I thought. One night, I was deep into my biology notes. Mitochondria, cell division, all that fun stuff. I was so focused that I didn't notice how late it had gotten. When I finally looked at my watch, it was already 10 p.m. I had never stayed that late before. Usually I'd be home by 8. Even at 8, there were always a few other students around. But at 10, the place was as silent as a graveyard. That's when I heard it, a sound that still haunts my dreams. It was like someone walking but wrong, like they were dragging one foot. Thump, drag, thump, drag. My heart started racing. I quickly packed my stuff, thinking, I'll just finish at home. As I zipped up my backpack, the sound got closer. Thump, drag, thump, drag. I ran out of the library so fast, I nearly tripped. There's this long corridor outside our library, and at the end you turn right to reach the exit. As I sprinted down that corridor, I saw something that made my blood run cold. There was a woman standing at the far end. Couldn't see her clearly, but something about her just felt off. My instincts were screaming at me to run. My feet felt glued to the floor. I managed to call out, "Who's there?" My voice echoed in the empty hallway. And then, in the blink of an eye, she was gone. Just vanished into thin air. I didn't wait around to see if she'd come back. I bolted for the exit, my backpack thumping against me as I ran. Outside, the cool night air hit my face, but it didn't calm me down, because something was very, very wrong. The street was completely empty, and I mean completely. No cars, no people, not even a stray cat. This street is usually busy, even at night, but now, it was like the whole world had disappeared. I started walking home, keeping my eyes on the ground. I was too scared to look around. That's when I saw it. A shadow on the ground, stretching out towards me. But when I looked up, there was no one there. Suddenly, she was there, the woman from the school. She appeared out of nowhere, right in front of me. And now that I could see her clearly, I wished I couldn't. Her clothes were old and torn, hanging off her in tatters. Her body was all twisted, like every bone had been broken and put back wrong. Her hair was a tangled mess, like it hadn't been brushed in years. But her face was the worst part. It was pale, almost glowing in the dark. Her eyes were sunken and empty, like black holes. And when she opened her mouth to speak, I saw that her teeth were rotted and broken. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. Felt like my feet had grown roots into the sidewalk. The woman took a step closer, and I caught a whiff of something awful, like old garbage and wet dirt. That's the last thing I remember. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in my bed. My neighbor had found me passed out on the sidewalk and brought me home. The next day at school, everything seemed normal. People were going about their day like nothing had happened. I wanted to believe it was all just a nightmare, but deep down, I knew it was real. I couldn't focus on anything. The image of that woman kept flashing in my mind. During lunch, I overheard some seniors talking about an old legend. Curious, I asked them about it.
"Oh, you mean the story of Agatha?"
He started telling me about her.
"It's been around for years. Back in the 90s, there was this woman named Agatha Miller. She had a daughter who went to our school."
As the senior spoke, I felt a chill run down my spine. Somehow, I knew what he was going to say next.
"The story goes that Agatha's daughter was struggling in school. She was so stressed about exams that she couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Agatha tried to help her study, but nothing seemed to work. Yeah, and then during a big exam, Agatha's daughter just snapped. She ran out of the exam hall, out of the school, and into the street. She was so distraught that she didn't see the car coming."
My mouth went dry. I could barely get the words out to ask my next question. What happened then?
Agatha lost it. She couldn't accept that her daughter was gone. She started coming to the school every day, looking for her daughter. She'd wander the halls, asking everyone if they'd seen her little girl. It got so bad that the school had to ban her from the premises. But Agatha didn't stop. She'd wait outside the school, grabbing students and begging them to help her find her daughter. One night, about a month after her daughter's death, Agatha was hit by a car on the same street where her daughter died.
I felt like I was going to be sick. The seniors must have noticed how pale I'd gotten, as one of them laughed and patted me on the back.
"Hey, don't look so scared. It's just an old story. People say Agatha's ghost still wanders around the school looking for her daughter, but it's just something to scare freshmen, you know?"
But I knew it wasn't just a story. I had seen her. I had spoken to her. Agatha was real, and she was still searching for her lost child. From that day on, school was never the same for me. Every time I walked down that long corridor, I'd remember the figure standing at the end. Every time I stayed late at the library, I'd listen to that telltale sound. Thump, drag, thump, drag. I started noticing things I'd never paid attention to before, like how the temperature would suddenly drop in certain parts of the school, or how sometimes late in the evening you could hear the faint sound of someone crying in the empty classrooms. One night, about a week after my encounter, I was studying in the library again. I know. Why would I go back there? But exams wait for no one, not even those of us who've seen ghosts. I was deep into my history notes when I felt it. That same chill I'd felt on that terrifying night. The air around me seemed to thicken, and I could have sworn I heard someone whispering,
"Have you seen my daughter? She needs to study. The exam is tomorrow."
I froze, my pen hovering over my notebook. Slowly, I turned around. There, at the end of the bookshelf, I saw a flicker of movement, a shadow that shouldn't have been there. I didn't stick around to see more. I grabbed my stuff and ran out of there as fast as I could. As I burst through the library doors, I could have sworn I heard that raspy voice again.
"Please help her study. She can't fail again."
After that night, I started noticing a pattern. Strange things would happen more often as exams got closer. Students would report seeing a woman in old-fashioned clothes wandering the halls late at night. Others said they heard crying coming from empty rooms. But the weirdest thing? Some students started saying that if you helped the ghost lady find what she was looking for, you'd ace your exams. A few even claimed they'd seen her and that she'd given them the answers to the test. Of course, most people laughed it off. They said it was just stressed-out students making up stories. But I knew better. I'd seen Agatha. I'd heard her voice, and part of me wondered what would happen if I actually helped her. As the next exam season approached, I found myself staying later and later at school. Part of me was terrified of seeing Agatha again, but another part was curious. What if I could help her find peace? What if I could end her endless search? One night, just a few days before the big history exam, I was one of the last people in the library. As I was packing up my things, I heard it, that familiar sound, thump, drag. Thump, drag. My heart started racing, but this time I didn't run. I took a deep breath and turned around, and there she was, Agatha, standing at the end of the aisle, her sad eyes fixed on me. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then, slowly, I picked up my history text. I held it out to her, my hand shaking. Is this what you're looking for? To help your daughter study? Agatha's eyes widened. She reached out, her ghostly hand passing through the book. But as she did, a small smile appeared on her face. It was like years of sorrow melted away in that instant.
"Thank you. My dear sweet girl can rest now, and so can I."
With those words, Agatha's form began to fade. The air around me grew warmer, and I felt a sense of peace I can't quite explain. Just before she disappeared completely, I heard her whisper,
"Be kind to yourself. Life is more than just exams."
After that night, the strange occurrences at school stopped. No more sightings of the ghostly woman, no more unexplained noises. It was like a weight had been lifted off the entire building. As for me, well, I'd love to say I aced that history exam. Truth is, I did pretty well, but not suspiciously so. What I gained was something more valuable than perfect grades. I learned that sometimes the scariest things in life are the pressures we put on ourselves. Every now and then, when I'm studying late at night, I think I feel a gentle presence. Not scary anymore, but comforting. A reminder that there's more to life than test scores and grade point average. So the next time you're stressed about school, remember Agatha's last words. Be kind to yourself. And if you happen to hear a strange noise in an empty school corridor, well, maybe it's just someone who needs a little kindness. That's my story, folks. True, false, ghost or no ghost, I'll leave that for you to decide. But the next time you're studying late at night and you hear an unexpected sound, maybe think twice before running away. You never know who might need your help. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, keep your eyes open and your mind ready, because you never know when you might have your own ghostly encounter. Until next time, sleep tight.